President Bola Tinubu has charged Nigeria's new service chiefs to deliver results in tackling terrorism and emerging security threats, warning that new armed groups must be smashed right in the head. State House correspondent Adesua Omoruwan has this report.
When he reached, President Tinubu, assisted by the service chiefs' spouses, decorates the newly appointed commanders with their new ranks, marking what he calls a renewed push to secure Nigeria and protect its sovereignty. The event, held at the council chambers of the State House, followed their confirmation by the National Assembly. Among those present were the Senate President, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Deputy Senate President, and National Security Advisor. The President commended the armed forces for their sacrifices and patriotism that urges the new chiefs to act decisively and innovatively as security threats evolve across the country.
Our grave concern to our administration is the recent emergence of a new armed groups in the troublesome area of North Central, Northwest, and parts of the South. We must not allow this new threat to fester. We must be decisive and proactive. Let us smash right in the head.
He charged them to strengthen intelligence sharing, deploy technology, and work as one team, assuring full government support.
I charge you, as the head of our nation's armed forces, to carry out your duties with patriotic zeal Nigerians expect result and not excuses. We cannot allow the crisis that began in year 2009 to persist any longer.
The newly decorated service chiefs are Olufemi Oluyede, Chief of Defense Staff, who is decorated as a 4-star general. Next, Emmanuel Udendeye, now decorated with the rank of Lieutenant General, retained his position as Chief of Defense Intelligence in the reshuffle of the military hierarchy. Waidi Shuaibu, Chief of Army Staff, is decorated with the rank of Lieutenant General. Also, Chief of Naval Staff, Idi Abbas, is decorated as Vice Admiral. And the Chief of Air Staff, Sunday Aneke, is decorated with the rank of Air Marshal. Speaking on behalf of his colleagues, General Oluyede pledged a safer Nigeria and to safeguard democracy.
I want to assure Mr. President and all Nigerians today that we will do our utmost best to ensure that we rid Nigeria of all forms of criminality and make Nigeria safer so that socio-economic endeavors can thrive. We pledge our loyalty to Mr. President, and we assure you that we will continue to support the flourishing democracy and support all your government aspirations to make Nigeria better.
After the ceremony, he reaffirmed that commitment, urging Nigerians to support the military's mission.
Without the support of Nigerians, we'll hardly achieve anything. So I want to enjoin Nigerians of all ethnicities to please support us. And at the end of the day, I believe we'll make Nigeria safer.
Nigeria faces evolving security threats from banditry to terrorism and even emerging armed groups. But as the president has charged the new service chiefs to deliver on concrete results, they are in turn pledging a safer Nigeria, loyalty to the country as a whole and its flourishing democracy. But the real challenge is turning that resolve into lasting peace. From the presidential villa, Adesua Omoruwan, Arise News.
Okay, following the complete change of guard of the top military hierarchy in Nigeria and the swearing in of the service chiefs, joining us live, we have General Anthony Atolagbe, who was the former theater commander operations, Safe Haven in Plateau State, and also former first commander of the African Military Intervention Mission in Sudan. And he is also a security consultant to the ECOWAS and the African Union. Thank you for joining us live on Arise News Daybreak, General Atolagbe.
Good morning, viewers, and good morning to everyone.
Okay, now going into the heart of the story now, the president has given the service chief a clear mandate. He said, no excuses, we want results. Smash the new emerging security threat in the country. What do you make of this? Do you think there is enough political will, enough mandate and resources to address this?
Thank you for the question. If we take from what the president has said, I took some key points, some key words in his statements. He talked about being proactive. He talked about being preemptive. He talked about innovation and that the adversary should be smashed on the head. On the top of all that is to bring defeat to the adversary.
And no excuses.
And there will be no excuses. So if the service chiefs want to do their checklist, which is what I'm here to do, and perhaps contribute to that checklist that they need to prepare, and then they should take some of these areas one after the other and see how they key in to achieving the mandate of the president, which he has put before them. And in doing this, people just want to hear a change of narrative. We want to hear that there are no issues of resurgence, of crisis. We want to hear that people, our troops, are not giving surprise attacks, thereby having casualties. We want to see a situation where efforts are made to ensure that ambushes are predicted, or perhaps we have information to prevent us from running into ambushes. And we also want to see a situation where, how do we warm ourselves into the hearts of the people? Not by dropping bombs on innocent civilians. So some of these areas are the ones I would just like to highlight on. And everything emanates from having to do some reviews. You need to do, for the fact that, yes, you are coming from the theater and the CDS also was there. Perhaps there will be need for us to look at how to do new things. How do you do new things? You conduct reviews, carry out some researches, find out what you have not been doing or what you need to do better. And in doing this, I just have perhaps one or two areas that I want to add to their checklist. First, what do you do? How do you, put the heads of the enemy down so that you can bring him to the round table to discuss how to end the conflict? You have to ensure that most of your operations are effect-based operations. When we talk about effect-based operations, we want a situation where once a place is cleared, we don't want to see a situation where someday we just hear that people have come back to the place, or you only succeed in pursuing them out of the place only for a minimum period of time, and then the next thing you see them coming back again. Then we talk about the use of precision-guided weapons. This has not been seriously employed over the period. And why I'm saying this is because of all these civilian casualties that we normally experience.
Right.
It doesn't make people happy. But if you have precision-guided weapons, you find a situation where casualties, civilian casualties are minimized. And then you actually pinpoint on the very target on which you want to drop your payloads.
Right. General, before you go on, you're actually touching on a subject that I wanted to speak more about. In your assessment, what should be the immediate priorities, do you think, for these newly appointed service chiefs, given the current security realities that you've kind of highlighted on and spoken on, from terrorism, banditry, maritime, and cyber threats as well?
Okay, from what I was actually explaining, I talked about carrying out reviews. Some of these reviews, for instance, if you want to do a review at the level of the defense headquarters, for example, their reviews surely must address what the national security strategy is talking about, what the national defense policy is talking about. And when you do such reviews, they must all conform with those areas. Then we now ask ourselves, when was the last time the national security architecture when was it reviewed? Because the operating environment is fluid, continue to change from time to time. The threats are continue to increase, and then you find a situation where if these reviews will reposition the operation, will reposition the forces, will align them where you have kept maybe about 1,000 troops. Now you now look at, do I need to get more troops? Then I also look forward to a situation where the first generation, we've been talking about this, and I think the armed forces are doing something very cogent in this area now, recruiting more men over and over, and in fact establishing more training depots across the country. And I think this is the way to go. When you have this level of threats coming from almost around the entire horizon of the country, you need enough foot on the ground so that people will not, this adversary will not have the means of just taking over ungoverned spaces and then taking over areas and perhaps creating their own method of governance within certain local governments or within certain states. These are some of the ways I think they should be included in their checklist for them to proceed.
Okay, now let's do a kind of periodic assessment now. The outgoing immediate past Chief of Defense Staff said, General Christopher Musa said, he's been able to push back security threats and also been able to dislodge the stronghold of the terrorists and also decimate them to a large extent. So now, taking over with General Oluyede, taking over the reins of the military now, he's taking over, would you say he's taking over at a very good state, looking at the state of things now, and what are the possibilities for him given what's already on ground?
Okay, let us just go back a little. You know that the new CDS was the Chief of Army Staff, so I'm sure the outgoing CDS will not be talking out of a vacuum. And I'm trying to say this because he knows that the Chief of Army Staff actually has some knowledge of what he was talking about. So I want to look forward to a situation where there has to be some improvement on perhaps where he has stopped, and a situation where he needs to see how to create more synergy with the rest of the security agencies, because that is one area that we usually have some slowdown. And then we also need, like the President has promised, there are areas of great support that the President needs to actually come in terms of equipment. I'm aware that one of the areas that the Renewed Hope agenda actually has keyed into supporting the crisis or the conflict is in the provision of 4 satellite stations, which was pronounced in May 2025. And one of such satellites, one particular one, which is a kind of an aperture radar equipment, is dedicated to security. And I look forward to a situation where this particular kind of radar will be, stepped up quickly so that we can have a complete lightning where you have such radars over an operational environment or a conflict zone. You light up the entire horizon so that whatever movements the adversary is making within those locations, they are open and they are making.
I guess you're talking of security drones now to create a kind of surveillance on those
the drones
areas
are
on
another
that
type of
but now let's focus on General Oluyede now, leading Nigeria's military now. He has outlined plans by saying that he would want to promote foreign partnership. He would also want to boost local production of arms, and he would also want to engage the civilian, promote military-civil relationship. Do you worked with him, and you know him very well. Do you think he has the capacity to drive these reforms in the Nigerian military? Okay,
I will just touch on two key areas you have talked about. The first one is on peacekeeping operations. This is my own domain, and it's actually makes me to feel a little bit unhappy because we have pulled out of major global participation in peacekeeping, apart from that which we are doing within ECOWAS. At a point, we were the first to set foot in UNAMID in Sudan, and with our arrival there, we had 4 battalions, along with Rwanda. And this gave us a very good, in fact, the reimbursement that countries even get from some of these participation is enormous for us to even add value to the economy of our nation.
Right.
And not only that, when you talk about military-industrial complex, you go to Egypt, they produce so many things, and a lot of other Arab countries are partnering with them in the provision of avionics, in the provision of a lot of equipment that has to do with this kind of conflict. When you go to South Africa, most of the trucks that they are using, they move on gradients of almost 90 degrees. It's such that they can climb any location at any particular time. When you go to Sudan, they are in war, but they are producing everything that they are using.
Right.
So you see a situation where we are actually challenged to see how we wake up and see how we can, fall in line with some of these arrangements so that we can also bring our nation to the forefront of war fighting and able to defeat our adversaries.
General, I'm glad that you brought up the situation that's going on in Sudan, because it's actually a very sad situation that's happening there. There's an enormous loss of lives that's going on at the moment. What lessons from your command of the African Union mission in Sudan could inform how Nigeria now approaches things like regional cooperation and peacekeeping with this new defense leadership?
Okay, if you talk about the regional arrangements, I think the only region that is at the vanguard of the African standby force is ECOWAS. The ECOWAS standby force is the one that actually is being like a model for the rest of other regions. And in IGAD, Intergovernmental Organization for those in the northeast of Africa. So you see a situation where, number one, that synergy, that level of cooperation that we enjoy in ECOWAS is not so much within that region. Now, what I see is that one of the things that actually happened was the coup that took place, which displaced the UN mission that was there. And in fact, it shrank them and pushed them into Khartoum. So most of these areas where the UN was deployed in El Fasher, in Yala, in El Janina, and the other areas in Darfur where we have some of these our troops, they were asked to leave, that they are able to govern their own area themselves. Now, if I want to take a lesson from there, I look forward to a situation where, in our own case here in Nigeria, we don't have foreign troops on ground, but there is a way in which we can maintain some level of security across the entire spectrum. How do we do this? If you find out that the level of threat in a particular place, because within the UN, they are rated 1 to 5. At 5, that is top level of insecurity. So when you have a level 5 insecurity, those are the ones in which you have pure military deployments without any police, without any correctional officers around the area, because it's just there are major threats. So you keep stepping it down up to such a level that we don't have to leave any space and because these are some of the areas where some of these adversaries take advantage.
Let us streamline this discussion again, because the essence of all our conversation is the safety of Nigerians. Now, against the backdrop of possible coup reports, and even though the military has denied it, that the 16 military officers were arrested based on breach of military regulations. But look at this trend now. We have reports that over 500 senior military officers have been forced into early retrenchment since under the Buhari's regime and Tinubu's regime. Do you think this would have, what are the implications of losing the best of our finest soldiers?
Well, I've had to talk about this particular issue somewhere else. And with all due respect, and to all those who were there taking such decisions, I am of the opinion that if we if they had reached out enough, perhaps there could have been a better way of getting rid of officers in this nature. Currently, we have officers who still have like 2 years to to complete their tour of duty in service. Some have 3 years, and they just have to go. But what I'm actually driving at is what are the solutions to some of these problems? For instance, in the UK, we find a situation where military officers who have certain competencies are deployed within MDAs. So what is wrong with getting some of these guys engaged? There are a lot of our officers who are qualified engineers, who are qualified people in aviation and the rest of it. And there's nothing wrong in getting some of them fixed in some of these areas. If they don't have to wear uniforms to cover the remaining period of their service. But then there has to be a lasting solution so that we can stop this recurrent this thing. And that will need some people to sit down and work out the modalities.
Unfortunately, we are pressed for time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, General Anthony Atolagbe, former Theater Commander, Operation Safe Haven in Plateau State, and security consultant to ECOWAS and the African Union, and also Force Commander of the African Military Intervention in Sudan. Thank you very much for joining us live on Daybreak on Arise News.
Thank you.
And that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. Don't forget, it's Friday. Make sure you have the best of time. I'm Benga Ashur. It's goodbye from me.
Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. I'm Yolanda Robert. Goodbye.